Hey everybody, welcome to Tuesday. As you'll notice, my face looks a lot better today. I looked human before, but I'm not quite so chipmunk cheeked, right? Yes, got the good drugs. Okay, so we're talking today, is Defense of the Ancients the most influential mod ever? Um, and this is, I admit, a bit of an homage to the announcement that Heroes of the Storm is going into maintenance mode. Because I saw a lot of people very, very sad about that. Even though uh, I avoid getting into communities like this precisely because I am so sad when they decline. But so I know that feel with things, and it's like, what do I do? It's the end of an era, sort of thing. So this is a bit of a tip of the hat to Heroes of the Storm. One of the multiple games that was inspired by Defense of the Ancients. So if you like this type of content, help support this channel, become a monthly patron, patreon.com/LeannaK, or buy a one-time Leanna Care session for someone who can use it but can't afford it, coffee.com/LeannaK. I never know how these videos are going to do. Some of them do great. Some of them the YouTube algorithm doesn't like. So if you like this sort of deep dive gaming content thing, patron support is appreciated, or one time or whatever. I don't care how you support me. I just appreciate it. But yeah, it is amazing to me how many developers speak with this hushed reverence about DOTA, Defense of the Ancients. And for people who don't know the history, they think, oh, that's a game. It was actually a mod for, was it Warcraft 3? I think it was Warcraft 3. Yeah, Warcraft 3. But this mod has not Warcraft 3, but I loved Warcraft 3, okay? I'm an old school Warcraft fan, but this particular mod inspired not just Heroes of the Storm and League of Legends. I mean, League of Legends was the first one that's like, yeah, this is straight up Dota 2. And the fact that a mod got a sequel, right? It's like, wow. So what is it about Defense of the Ancients that became so influential? It could be the sort of combination of simple, and so it's a simple concept, and then it's strategy, right? It's the easy to play, hard to master element of it, because you don't have to worry about base building or anything like that. You just go and beat each other up in strategic. You're building up the individual heroes instead of the old school. You got to farm the gold and the wood and the stone and all that stuff. And I guess that simplicity, I'm just theorizing. I have no idea. It may have something to do with the look. It may have had something to do with the heroes. But it might have had to do with the StarCraft throwback elements to it. I don't know, but something about Defense of the Ancients caught fire. And this is the thing that's cool about games. And this is the element where I think that a really great mod should be rewarded somehow. Now, I think the best way to reward somebody who's a really great modder is give them a job instead of charging people for mods. Because you get into paid mods, we saw what happened with Bethesda and paid mods. It's just, there is something that happens when user generated mods go pay. And we know all the stuff with Square Enix and Enix, or however it's pronounced, and the it changes the whole attitude towards modding it's not sharing anymore. Now it's selling, right? And I think any of us sort of core gamers don't want that. We don't want that shift. Not because we don't want to pay money for things we like. Gamers pay money for stuff they like. The very fact that, this is a Patreon and coffee driven channel shows that gamers and people adjacent to this will pay for stuff they like. It's the mindset that changes when things when things shift that way. Now, what does that mean that League of Legends is, a commercial product, and Heroes of the Storm is a commercial product? Well, that's why we talk about influence, right? Something about this game, and I am fully open to anybody telling me what exactly they think it is. Something about this game inspired people, and things that are inspirational I have found tend to be things that are really good or really inventive, but they're also flawed or mismanaged in somehow. Because if something's perfect, right, it doesn't become influential the same way, because people aren't like, well, I want to make this only improved in this way. And that doesn't mean that the DOTAs were bad. People think that the minute you say it's flawed or it's mismanaged, that you're saying it's bad. It's not that. It's just that so many products that are innovative, precisely because they are innovative, they're sort of most of the way there, but there's a little bit of extra that someone can bring to the table. And that's what inspires people, and that's what makes something influential. Now I'm not saying that's the case. I frankly think certain things are just lightning in a bottle, especially in gaming. It's right product, right time. See the original Halo, see World of Warcraft, see, something like League of Legends. I'd say League of Legends, though. The thing that was so cool about League of Legends is the thing that was cool about Doom as well. Classic Doom. Doom was another one that was just a phenomenon. But they focused on sampling accessibility. And games like this are why I am so bullish on demos and free-to-play samples and things like that. And AAA devs hate me for this, so I get it. It's a lot of work. You have to pull people off your project, and maybe it's not appropriate for AAA. But for a fledgling IP, letting people sample is powerful. I mean, that first level in Doom is so much better known than any other level in the original Doom, right? Because everybody played it for free. And how do they make money? Well, then you get into the rather scummy feeling of conversions and in-app purchases. But I thought League of Legends did a really good job with that. League of Legends is a game that manages to handle in-app stuff, in-game purchases, microtransactions, in a way that doesn't make you feel like they're bleeding you. I mean, right from the beginning, the fact that they understood that they wanted some people to download in the free-to-play model, but they also wanted the shelf space in stores back when that mattered. So they made something like a $20 loot pack that they put in, office supply stores back when see how much things have changed back then? But it was a really, really clever distribution model because Riot was operating on a shoestring. And for all the, and maybe this is connected, all the community issues that League of Legends had, and, sort of all the internal struggles that Riot has had in terms of community and culture, that's always been baffling to me, because there's nothing in the game itself that should inspire people to become raging bags of dicks. It probably has something to do with the level of expansion of the success of the game, of the success of the company over a relatively short period of time. Companies tend to fall behind with that. It's the startup problem, right? It's the unicorn problem. But the super toxic communities make about as little logical sense as these games that super take off. Because, hey, remember when Xbox Live, especially stuff like Halo, was, oh wow, a 14-year-old is teaching me new swear words right now. Why am I doing this? Why is this fun? Things that are popular tend to attract toxicity just because it's popular. But I don't know, Heroes of the Storm was this interesting sort of thing where it was a really cool idea. The idea that, characters from various other Blizzard IPs could play together, I thought was a really worthwhile idea. And it kind of sucks that it only ran 7 years, even though the writing was on the wall. Right? And again, I'm sad. But, what made League of Legends work better than Heroes of the Storm? It could be League of Legends was first to market, right? The first really obviously Defense of the Ancients game out. It tends to be the earliest one that people adopt, and then they stay there. Because let's face it, if you're playing a MOBA of a particular type, what's the point of just jumping to another game that's a very similar experience that you don't know as well, right? But again, what was it about that format, that the MOBA genre, that was so appealing? Is it possible it was the fact that it's perfect for free-to-play monetization? Maybe. But you can do, Fortnite, some similarities, not, doesn't look quite the same. Free-to-play was very, very tempting. And I think part of what happened with Heroes of the Storm was that MOBAs got oversaturated. And I don't even know what's going on with PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds right now. But, it sort of got oversaturated, and now the market is settling. That there's some fatigue, there's some people are getting overextended, the natural attrition happens, there's fewer players coming in than exiting the space, and this is what happens. Or it's possible that Heroes of the Storm is uniquely caught up in the internal issues at Blizzard. I don't know. I have no internal access. I'm just speculating on this. Part of the reason I knew there were problems at Blizzard is the distinct lack of access that people who look and sound like me get with Blizzard. But there you go. And that's possibly why I think maybe other people had to take the really great idea that was Dota and Dota 2, and then give it the love that a place like Blizzard wouldn't. In part, obviously, because, the Warcraft franchise has moved on, though I think, again, a lot of people forget that Defense of the Ancients was a Warcraft 3 mod, right? But this also shows the importance of mod communities. Because, look at Valve, right? Remember when Valve their next game was just a take on a really popular or cool mod for their previous game? and they looked out to their community and went, oh, this person's cool, let's give them a job. And there was this really cool kind of organic thing. And the minute Valve became predominantly a online marketplace for games and not primarily a game developer, that kind of stopped. And, you know, the thing that made Valve interesting and creating products that people enjoyed despite really weird corporate structure and culture stopped. And there's no secret why, right? I mean, they make a lot more money for doing a lot less with Steam than making games. If you gotta choose, right? But I do think, again, you know, there's another company that I think had a good thing going, lost steam, and other people sort of picked up on what Valve was good at and started doing it out of love. And that's the thing that I think makes gaming unique in my experience from TV and film. And it isn't that there isn't the exact same amount of ego in games as there is in film and TV and so on and so forth. It's a more community-oriented, collaborative ego than in film and TV. Games are created to be played with, not just watched passively, right? And I think that matters. And I think that companies, not the developers, because the developers know, but the companies funding these games, the company marketing these games, have to keep that in mind, that it is different. It is a different mindset. You just can't churn out stuff the way TV does with so many police and medical procedurals, right? And, you know, the premium cable now is so obsessed with shameless sex and violence to allegedly lure people in that Westworld is basically meta commentary on Hollywood that way. Games, yeah, there are big egos, but I really think the egos that know how to bring other people in too are the ones that do well, and the ones that become all about my creative vision, right? They tend to jump to HBO series. If you compare, you know, some of the Western auteur game makers compared to Yoko Taro or Kojima, it's night and day, right? Like the output of some of these Japanese, I have a creative vision, if you don't like it, suck it types, and the US version. And I think that the crossover, the exception is these people that put a lot of time and effort into these mods just because they want to share. And when you put that much time into something, when, you know, you're not getting paid, or you're not getting paid much for it, there's an element of ego in that, but it's not everybody's going to know how wonderful I am, right? Because people don't know names like, you know, Steve Feek or Steve Meskin. A lot of Steves on DOTA, but you know, Ice Frog. You know, these guys aren't look at me I am a personality. I want to make something that's really cool. I want my work to be the star, not me. And they don't feel the need to make themselves the product. And I really do think that matters. There's a lot of people who work very, very steadily in games whose names you don't know or only some of you may know just because they get the damn job done. And, they're the ones that take a lot of the thankless tasks and go in and fix games that are on fire so that other developers who have a lot more name recognition and have these cults of personality around them, they can't bring the game home. They can't do the polish part. They are really good at getting attention to it, but they just can't do the work properly. And these sort of unsung guys have to come in and actually make sure the game ships. And in a way, I think that's a cool thing about games. I like that for the most part, the games are still the stars, as opposed to, we all have our favorite developers, but, one of the things I really admire about Kojima is, I believe his name's properly pronounced Kojima, but the thing I admire about him, and I'm blanking on the name of the guy who made Yakuza and so on and so forth, is that when there's a backlash to their stuff, they're not on there fighting with people. They're just like, well, some people like it, some people won't. This is the game I wanted to make. They'll fight internally. I mean, we all know what was going on with, was it Konami and Metal Gear? But, they're not on the internet calling gamers Nazis and things like that. They're just, well, some work, some don't. It's partially the system, that's partially the culture, but it's also something about those particular creators and why they got into games, right? And I think that's really cool. And I think there's a whole through line that goes through mods. Because people who play games with mods, people who play games on PC despite the jank because they want the mod experience, they're a particular kind of gamer. And I think that's really cool. And I think that is a part of the gaming community that, even though there's no direct money in it, we shouldn't lose, because it has intangible value in terms of what it does to a community. When people are sharing that way, that creates a cooperative social economy instead of a competitive social economy. And what that does is it sort of keeps down the toxicity. When something gets super popular, like I said, there's just more toxicity. The nature of the game matters less than the cultural impact it has, because then you get, the normies, the mundanes coming in, and it shifts the whole balance of the community. And that's not saying that, some gamers don't harass, but it's a question of whether you feel relaxed and safe within sort of a gatekept in-group where you can just chill, versus you feeling the need to be on that guard because you sense the presence of the type of people who picked on you in school, right? Anyway, I'm curious with you guys about why you think Defense of the Ancients was so influential. Whether you think there are mods that are more influential. I'm very curious about that. But mostly I just wanted to make this video to say thanks, Heroes of the Storm. Thanks to the community. Everybody's kind of bummed about it. So I just wanted to do my little part to go, all right, there was DOTA, there was Heroes of the Storm. There will be something else. But I mean, like I said, part of the reason I don't get invested in games like that anymore is eventually they do end, and it's just too sad. You don't just lose you don't just lose the ability to play a game when things like that happen. You lose a community, you lose a friend circle. I mean, you try to keep in touch with people you know that a certain game was your thing. But it's not quite the same unless you find some other common activity. So I recognize what a loss this is. And so I just wanted to do something to honor the moment. All right. Help support this channel. Become a monthly patron. Patreon.com/LeannaK. Or buy a one-time coffee donation, one-time Leanna Care session for someone who can use it but can't afford it. Coffee.com/LeannaK. Thanks for watching.